Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another movie review. So, we continue our foray into the X-Men movies, and this time, the timeline that we all know and somewhat love up to this point, it's time for it to get totally retconned. Well, not totally, but anyway, it's time for X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, how I do joke when I say that. I do jest a little bit as I say that. But admittedly, this is a lot of people. This is from what I read, like in the comments and stuff on like videos and stuff. This is some people's favorite X-Men movie, which is fair enough. As always, I'm not professional, movie reviewer or movie analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I definitely did, for the most part, have a good time with this movie. Tis a time travel plot, which nothing new, but it does tie into the Days of Future Past comic, kind of based off the X-Men comic of the same name, Days of Future Past, as in kind of something similar. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So, for those of you who have seen these reviews before, you kind of already know how this works. For those of you who haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and what I disliked about the movie. So, starting with what I liked here is that we've established the past version of Professor Charles Xavier and some of the other characters such as him, Magneto, and etc. Mixed with like a kind of the current timeline with people like Patrick Stewart, Professor Xavier, are kind of almost like a marriage of those two because as in this future, in the distant future of 2023, do you feel old yet? But in this distant future of 2023, this would be the exact year where mutants are being hunted down by the Sentinels, and we'll get to them in just a second. But yes, this is a future of where the mutants are being hunted by the Sentinels, and even something like the regular people are being hunted by the Sentinels as well. So Sentinels, big deal, big problem, and it is nice how they've incorporated the Sentinels into the X-Men universe. The Sentinels, of course, very big, a constant enemy for the X-Men, and of course the big giant mutant hunting killer robots. They're incorporated here. So, our friend Wolverine is sent back in time in order to prevent the rise of the Sentinels and to save the timeline, essentially by stopping the past version of Mystique from killing the creator of the Sentinels, the mastermind behind the Sentinel program, the person who brought the Sentinels to life, which here is Bolivar Trask, who created the Sentinels to combat the mutant problem, but because he's killed, they decide that it tips them over the edge to have the Sentinels created. So Wolverine travels back in time to 1973, pretty much to prevent that. So, pretty much essentially set up. In the comics, apparently, is actually Kitty Pryde / Shadowcat herself, who goes back in time to a younger version of herself. But here, Wolverine is the person they send back because partially because it makes sense. He has relationships with Professor Xavier, but also partially because, of course, he is it is Wolverine after all. But to their credit, they do a good job kind of explaining it as to reason being that it's very taxing on the body. And so Wolverine, obviously with his healing factor, can endure it. But Wolverine goes back in time and meets up with past Charles Xavier, or past version of Magneto. And Xavier, they present as very down on his luck, very upset. He lost a lot of his students who were forced to enlist in the Vietnam War at the time, which that's a can of worms that I'm not going to fully open because the whole Vietnam War and everything, that's definitely a topic for another time, and like how people felt and stuff about the ongoing Vietnam War. And Magneto is in prison for murdering President John F. Kennedy. Yeah, they made the decision, made admittedly kind of like whoa decision to have Magneto be the one to assassinate President Kennedy. And they kind of try to tie that into real life with the whole magic bullet that traveled between the people who were struck in the car. Or I forget the exact. I obviously read about it because I'm a bit of a history buff at times, but I forget the exact trajectory that the bullet took. I know it went through like multiple different people before coming back to Kennedy, but so they kind of try to explain that in universe as Magneto being the one responsible. Also, he's assembled. Quicksilver makes an appearance, and he helps out as well. This is the Evan Pearson, I believe his name is the Evan Pearson version of Quicksilver. Her very different from like the MC Evan Peters. I don't know why I said Pearson. I think I said Pearson. I'm not sure why, but Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver, are very different from like the MCU version of Quicksilver, and so they kind of like people have kind of gone back and forth as to which version of Quicksilver they like. So they're assembled. They have to stop Raven slash Mystique. Magneto almost kills Mystique, feeling that her not being there theoretically would stop everything, which admittedly he's kind of not that wrong about, but at the same time obviously they don't want her to be killed. Well, it shows the tension between Professor Xavier and Magneto, and then they juxtapose that to what's happening in the current time, especially when Wolverine accidentally loses his memory by having like memory triggering flashbacks after meeting a young William Stryker or Wolverine. Okay, so sorry, quick edit there, but Wolverine meets Stryker, goes through that traumatic event and of meeting Stryker, so he loses memory briefly. So, they juxtapose that. We see the tension between Xavier and Magneto here, and then that's juxtaposed to the future where Magneto and Professor Xavier are on the same page, what you saw in the post-credit scene for the Wolverine, and setting up towards this movie. And I know I'm kind of all over the place and mostly talking about the plot, but I do, for the most part, really like how things tie together. And then ultimately, what ultimately stops the Sentinels from being created and gets Trask arrested is that Mystique, when she has the opportunity to shoot Trask, she doesn't, and mostly because Professor Xavier, or the young Professor Xavier, that is, compels her not to. And I do like the moment James McAvoy's Professor Xavier, obviously the younger version, having the moment with Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier, that was a pretty nice moment. Xavier telling his younger self not to give up on the mutants or humanity or anything like that. And so Dave saved. Hey, Sentinel's not created. It hated. Everybody's pretty much brought back to life because the timelines reset, and they pretty much Mortal Kombat their way through the timeline, and which like I said, it makes sense for the most part, and more jokes, but honestly, it's all pretty decent, and Wolverine's caught up to speed about everything that happened, the new timeline that is, so kind of putting. And in a way, it's kind of a very happy ending, kind of putting the current timeline to rest and giving them the happy ending where everybody's alive, everybody's in the X-Mansion, everything, and then also setting up how they're gonna go back to the past and kind of see how we get to where we are now. So. All these things coming together, or it feels like the end and the beginning at the same time, which I guess ties into the whole time travel motif, and we see the post-credit scene establishing Apocalypse as the next major X-Men villain, which we will definitely see him in later movie down the line in the X-Men movies, but we're not quite there yet. We have about one pit stop to go before then, and I think you can probably take a guess what it is. But so all the stuff set up, like I said, it kind of feel like the end, but also simultaneously the beginning, and kind of the end of one chapter, and then kind of the beginning of the next one is kind of the feeling that you get when you see this here and see how things unfold here, and and the X-Men get to have their happy ending. And Wolverine obviously remembers everything, and they told him he would, but he remembers everything, and you see like the joy on his face to see his friends and all alive and everything, including Scott, who he did have issues with, but obviously we know Scott died previously, so to see them back, like yeah, I think it's pretty decently well done for the most part. And I do like kind of like the ending where you see the tension of the Sentinels finally converging on the X-Men's location. The Sentinels, and this is in the future now, and I know again I'm kind of going all over the place, but the Sentinels coming back, finding their location. They can't move because Wolverine's currently he's still traveling through time, and essentially nowhere else to go. As the Sentinels killing off everyone as Magneto in the past has turned the Sentinels pretty much on everyone else and then attacking everyone and stuff like that. And we see that tension of the mission not quite being completed yet because the Sentinels still exist versus the Sentinels wiping everybody out, about to wipe everybody out, and it ends after Mystique doesn't kill Trask. And we even see Iceman and Kitty Pryde are together. I might alternate between Kitty Pryde and Shadowcat, but we see them together in like the new timeline. But then we go back to the old timeline and we see Iceman with Rogue instead, and meaning I guess they didn't want to fully commit to the whole Iceman and Kitty Pryde thing, and they want to go with Rogue instead, which is kind of what they hinted at before. But it does leave some, like I said, it ties up some loose ends, but also leaves some questions such as, okay, how does Wolverine get his powers in the new timeline? And that will kind of be addressed in a later movie. How does Wolverine get his powers in the new timeline? How do the X-Men come together in the new timeline? And how do the events of certain movies, like the first X-Men movie, and then X2 and The Last Stand, get revised? So kind of leaving those questions answered, and sadly, as we'll see in the trajectory of the X-Men movies from here, not all these questions will be answered, but it does answer some questions, leaves some more kind of on the open end. And so there's those things to keep in mind. And I do like the kind of like rising to the purpose storyline. That Professor Xavier, the younger Professor Xavier, goes through. He's down his luck. Like I said, he's kind of like upset at how things turned out, feeling betrayed by both Mystique and Magneto. Suppressing his powers, as well also simultaneously being able to walk because he's taking drugs and everything, until eventually he stops doing that, embraces his powers, and embraces his inability to walk, and yeah, so all those things kind of coming together, which is why I say some stuff being tied up, some loose ends being tied up, others still left open to be fulfilled by later movies. Sadly, like I said, not all these will be fulfilled by the later movies, but some of them will. I do like Trask, who Trask, you see, he treated like a major deal, and you see him portrayed as a major deal. You see him, as he go through the movie, you can almost sympathize with him almost, because it is a mutant who does kill him, but at the same time you can tell he's definitely no good, and wanting to get the Sentinels off the ground and everything, which again we will get to. But yeah, so the feelings of like the desperation and kind of that like impending doom feeling as the Sentinels approach, juxtaposed with them going to the past and everything, I think that contrast was pretty decently done. So yeah, pretty good stuff up throughout, and I think reasons like that is why a lot of people do like this X-Men movie, and I'd say it's understandable. in terms of what I didn't like as much about the movie, let's talk about the Sentinels. So the past version of the Sentinels are nice and big and hulky, which is how the Sentinels are supposed to be in the comics. And the Sentinels are actually, I think, a lot bigger in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, but they are seen as nice and big. But then the future Sentinels are too small and too skinny. What is with all these characters and their and the size problems? Like Colossus is too skinny, Juggernaut is too skinny, Blob. They kind of got right from X-Men Origins Wolverine, but even he's still somewhat too skinny, like slightly, but it's not as bad as the other characters. And now the Sentinels, and I can almost kind of see it. They're supposed to be more compact and having Mystique's powers. They're able to like adapt, but you still could have did that and made them big. Like have them be too skinny and too small. Admittedly, not the biggest fan of that. But otherwise, I don't know if there's anything else I can really criticize about the movie. He is the best X-Men movie I've seen so far. Or honestly, I'd say probably like the tone and everything that they went throughout the movie. He is pretty cool. Well, it introduces some new characters, and you see some of the other ones, and the feeling when the characters are killed off, you definitely do feel for them. But otherwise, if I did also have something to nitpick, I do feel like the ending is kind of drawn out, but I get it. It's to set up kind of the contrast in the future as they're about to be wiped out versus Wolverine still not completing his mission. But otherwise, I think for the most part are pretty cool. Parts of it do kind of feel almost like another Wolverine solo movie, which not the last one he'd have obviously in the X-Men universe, but otherwise it doesn't fully feel like that as we get other characters having time to shine and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this review. We are almost done. We just have a few more movies to go in the X-Men universe. Let me know in the comments if you're enjoying my reviews of the X-Men movies thus far, or what's your favorite one so far. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you can see as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the movie and my review of the movie. Did you like dislike the movie? Did you like dislike my review of the movie? Let me know. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.